but if you add on top of that you don't know if that counselor is going to, affirm you, it's huge. So, and having that licensed professional tell a child that they need to change their sexuality or gender leads to psychological distress, self-harm, depression, anxiety, and suicide. So this is literally a life or death situation for us. I know that with talking to some city council members that there are some concerns about putting forth an ordinance in place, and I would like to address those, and if I may just make a suggestion that if the city were to adapt an ordinance stating that any complaints of conversion therapy would be reported to Wisconsin Department of Safety and Professional Services would be sufficient in this case. DSPS would have to investigate the unethical violations, and they already have a means to do so, where I know that our city might not have the means to look into a case like that. So, and I know I didn't state this earlier, but I am co-founder of Yellow Brick Road. I'm a licensed professional, sorry. I'm a licensed insurance agent, and I'm also a co-founder of Attentive Counseling. So, thank you.
Hi, my name is Amanda Celine. I live at 651 North Lincoln Street in Elkhorn, Wisconsin. And I have been the gender sexuality advisor over at Beloit Memorial High School for the last 13 years. Ever since the organization was founded. We started as the Gay Straight Alliance when it was first founded. So over the years, the Youth Risk Behavior Survey, the YRBS statistics for the LGBT community, students at our school has shown 2 to 3 times more likely to have suicidal ideation, self-harm, engage in risky behaviors such as sex, drugs, and alcohol abuse. And so over the years, I've seen the struggles of my students, and I have talked with them, and I have, talked them through difficult times. And they struggle with identity. They struggle with acceptance, things that normal teens usually struggle with, but it's so amplified more because of their LGBTQ identification at times. And I've seen them struggle with the hurts and the shame that comes with that. And I have heard their stories of abandonment by family, by friends, by classmates that they've known since they were very little. And so I think a yes to banning conversion therapy here would send a message to them that their community supports them. It would restore faith in their community, that they feel like they're valued here and that they are accepted. So I just ask that you say yes to the ban, because I know it would mean a lot to them. Thank you.
Hi, good evening. My name is Megan Miller. I live at 920 Park Avenue, apartment 312 here in Beloit. I just wanted to thank all of you this evening for considering banning conversion therapy in the city of Beloit. And I want to build off of what Ms. Celine was just talking about, having been a teacher in our district and working with students actually across Rock and Greene County the last 3 years. I've been in circumstances and seen classrooms where students feel like it's their only safe place because they happen to have found a teacher, or they happen to have found a safe community, because it's not the norm. And I think that there's no stronger message that we could send to our children in our community and in neighboring communities than to say that we accept you for who you are. We see be like institutionally that it is wrong, that trauma and harm and really child abuse should not be an institutionalized thing that happens here. And so when licensed professionals are contributing to this, it feeds into this idea, well, this is a proper institution, it's normalized and accepted. So a ban would speak to the point that this is not okay, this is abusive, this is not something that reflects the values of the city of Beloit, because we accept all of our children for who they are, however they express. And one thing I would like to say too is, as a Beloit School Board member, one thing that I'll be bringing up is that I think that we need to include mandatory reporting for child abuse as part of our child abuse mandatory reporting, including conversion therapy in that as well. So just to add some teeth to that, it's something I'm also willing to go to bat for. So I just wanted to thank you all again tonight for listening and for considering the ban for conversion therapy.
Hi, my name is Meg Trim. I live at 2222 Merrill Street in Beloit. I'm here because I'm a Beloit resident, a parent, and I'm a LGBT person. I am a board member of the Yellow Brick Road organization. Banning conversion therapy is an important step toward protecting citizens, especially children. As you've heard, practices are often targeted at children and are often abusive. In my own life, I've dealt with depression and suicide since childhood. In the last few years, I've made some life-changing breakthroughs. One of the biggest things was that I realized that my mental health issues were deeply connected to my queerness. But it was not my queerness that was the problem, it was all of the things that happened to me because I happened to be a queer child, who grew into a queer adult. In a million ways, I was told that I did not understand myself, that I did not understand love. I was rejected and excluded, and those things were very difficult. And again, like the best thing that happened to me was just finally realizing, like, oh, it's not me. It's just all these things that have happened to me. And it's not my queerness. It's just things that I experienced because of my queerness. So it's my hope that Beloit will send a different message to our children, that we can send a message of affirmation and acceptance instead of rejection and fear. I stand before you tonight whole and healthy. And I'm whole and healthy in here because, again, I didn't get rid of my queerness as conversion therapy purports to do to fix people. I just learned to love myself, and my queerness is part of that. My story is also typical of people who have been through therapy that is affirming of them, as opposed to the sort of really bad, or at least unsuccessful, but also often traumatizing results of conversion therapy. So in 1973, the American Psychiatric Association removed homosexuality from the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual. So it's been 46 years since our society and some of our best professionals in the field have known that there's nothing wrong with queerness. According to the eminent psychologist Joe Court, the best scientific understanding we have of orientation is that it is fixed from birth and it is unchangeable. And one more important myth to bust using Joe Court is that sometimes we think that conversion therapy works, but Court says that you can't change your orientation, but trauma can disorient you. So if you've come out of a conversion therapy thinking that your orientation has changed, it's because you have disassociated from yourself in an important way. Your trauma, you have been traumatized. And I think that we can do better, that does not need to be a part of our society in 2019. But there are those who fear and hate gender and sexual differences so much that they would send themselves, their children, their friends to abusive therapies to, quote, cure them. Again, Joe Court says that conversion therapy does untold damage to these patients. Many practices are abusive, and I say this, I think it sounds just kind of explosive, but it's true, that everything from like aversion therapy, where you're made to like look at pictures and throw up, to electroshock therapy, can be found in clinics who are trying to change people's orientations. So again, as everyone who's preceded me has pointed out, these are extremely abusive practices. Not to mention that the whole idea of teaching someone not to trust in their own sense of love and their own sense of self is extremely problematic and also abusive. So, if this council votes to ban conversion therapy in Beloit, it will send an important message to our community, especially to our youth, that Beloit is a safe place to live, that we protect and support and include queer people. Furthermore, we will join a host of cities and territories and states that have already banned this practice. And that includes Eau Claire, Wisconsin, Superior, Wisconsin, Madison, Wisconsin, and I hope soon Beloit, Wisconsin. Thank you.
Are there any other members of the public wishing to address the council this evening? Are there any other members of the public wishing to address the council this evening?
I forgot something, I'm so sorry.
Please state your name and your address for the record. I just wanted to make sure I got everything.
Hi, Marilyn Shu again. So we did, 624 Cranston Road here in Beloit again. So we did get some petitions from people here in Beloit. We did get 151 signatures from Beloit residents and 56 signatures from surrounding areas, petitioning for the city of Beloit to adapt an ordinance to ban conversion therapy. So, and I have that here. Great, thank you.
Are there any other members of the public wishing to address the council this evening? If there are no other public comments, we will go on to item 6, consent agenda.
This time we generally offer people that you don't have to stay for our boring business meeting, but you're certainly welcome. So, item 6 is the consent agenda. All items. Yep, go ahead.
I would just like to thank some people that came to speak tonight. We often say that we like to get public comments from our community, so I just want to thank you for coming in and giving us input tonight. Thank you.
Thank you.
All items listed under the consent agenda are considered routine and will be enacted by one motion. There will be no separate discussion of the items unless council members so request in which event the item will be removed from the order of business and considered at this point on the agenda.
The consent agenda consists of items 6A through 6B. Can I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I so move.
There's a first by Councilor Corbett, a second by Councilor Blakely. Any discussion? If not, all in favor say aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Oh, sorry. Thank you.
Under item 7, under licenses, consideration of resolution 2019-169 for approving applicants for an alcohol beverage operator bartender's license for the years 2019-2021. You have before you this evening 6 operator licenses being recommended for approval and 0 denials.
Is there a motion to approve item 7A? Moved by Councilor Crosser. Is there a second? Second by Councilor Corbett. Any discussion? If not, all in favor say aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
Under item 7B, we have consideration of resolution 2019-160 approving a Class B beer and Class B intoxicating liquor license for Hatley Enterprises in Beloit, doing business as Hat's Traditional Pub located at 435 East Grand Avenue. Gregory L. Hatley, agent. You have before you a report in your packet that explains that Suds is selling. Gregory Hatley is here if you have questions of the agent. They plan on closing on the building. They have presented a full, complete application and have given a business plan. And the ABLCC recommended the license for approval 4-0 on Tuesday.
Okay, we have a motion by Councilor Jacobson, a second by Councilor Crosser. Any discussion? Go ahead, Councilor Corbett.
Thank you. I'm so excited to see sets reused and would be a church. Absolutely. Good.
So we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor say aye. Any opposed? Motion operator's license for Ms. Bailey.
Right. That is the motion on the floor so that we can have a conversation, and then the council will determine whether or not they are going to support or oppose that motion. Yes.
So we have a first and a second. So Lieutenant Elrod will now present a summary of his findings and reason for recommending denial.
Excuse me, Madam President. Sorry.
That's all right.
You may have gone over it, and Councilor White has met, but why are we not convening into closed session?
Can we
So
have
we-
clarification from?
Yes.
Thank you.
There's a motion and a second on the floor, so you can receive a public report from Lieutenant Elrod. Particularly because the applicant is not present to provide any information to you, you may not feel the need to deliberate in closed session. You may simply be able to vote on the motion. Staff is recommending denial of the license. So when you get to that point, in order to support staff's recommendation, you would vote nay. If you want to issue the license against staff recommendation, you would vote aye. If you need to deliberate and discuss after Lieutenant Elrod has provided you with a summary, you can make a motion to go into closed session.
Thank you.
Lieutenant Elrod, if you could go ahead and give your summary this time.
Yep, good evening. Looking around, I do not see Mrs. Bailey here, Miss Bailey here. If you'd like, I can give you a whole summary. She has a criminal background, felony conviction, and she was also involved in a domestic incident in the city of Beloit in 2017 where she was intoxicated at that time. I can give you a full summary if you'd like, or it's up to you guys.
You can give us a brief summary. Go ahead.
Iris, do you need additional information other than the felony conviction and the alcohol-related conviction within the past year? I would suggest that you don't, given the statutory guidelines for licensing.
Councilman Corbett, if you have a comment.
Yes, I guess I remember when we were taking a look at all this, that it was important that the felony, maybe I'm wrong. I guess a felony didn't matter, but the problem had to be related to the job, but it sounds like.
Just a minute. Councilor Dickerson.
I read the full report that was provided to us, and it was directly related to alcohol related. So I think that we have enough information given the legal secrets from the state that it would be very detrimental to renew this license given the legal action that is being taken in society.
Okay, thank you. So at this time, we need a motion on the floor. And there is.
If you could please,
Go ahead, city manager.
the city attorney, please address the council.
Just want to point out that Lieutenant Elrod did provide a packet of information to the council to consider. And if that is the basis by which you're making a decision today, so Lieutenant Elrod gave a very brief synopsis, but a full report has been provided to the council for consideration. There is a motion and a second to approve that license on the floor currently. So a vote either aye would be an affirmative to grant the license, vote nay would be to deny the license.
So we move forward, and thank you for that, city attorney Cooper. So with that said, is there any further discussion? Okay, we can take a roll call.
Anderson?
No.
Blakely?
No.
Duncan?
No.
Jacobson? Preschel? Corbett? So that fails 6-0.
Thank you. You're welcome.
Okay, moving on to item 8A. Consideration of ordinance number 3667, create section 17.57 sub 4 to amend section 3.12 of the Code of General Ordinances pertaining to solid waste fees and service charges for insufficient fund payments for debts owed to the city.
Our Finance and Administrative Services Director, Garrett Miller, will provide a summary for us.
Good evening. So this item is for the amendment of two separate ordinances. The first one being 17.57 sub 4, which is in regards to solid waste fees at specific drop-off locations. And what we're looking to do is increase the fee from $1.50 to $2 in 2020. And the language in the ordinance is addressing the imposition of the fee as well as the ability of the council to set that fee by resolution. Ordinance number 3.12 is in regards to insufficient funds fees. And the current ordinance only addresses fees for insufficient funds as it relates to payments made by check. And what we would like to do is amend the ordinance to allow the insufficient funds fee to be also associated with any type of electronic payment. So that would include ACHs and wires. So this is the second reading and is on your agenda for action.
Thank you. This is the second reading. Is there a motion to approve? So moved. It's moved by Councilor Jacobson. Is there a second? Second. Second by Councilor Blakely. Any discussion at this time? If not, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Item 8B is consideration of ordinance number 3669 to amend certain sections of the index of special locations sections 13.02 of the Code of General Ordinances relating to the establishment of multi-way stop signs at the intersection of Cleora Drive and Sun Valley Drive. This is first reading.
Our Assistant City Engineer, Jason Dupuy, will provide a summary for us.
Yep, we had a request from a couple of citizens in the area with stating their traffic concerns and the request to implement stop signs at the intersection of Cleora and Sun Valley. We did a traffic study in the intersection. It did not meet the warrants for the installation of the stop signs. We presented this to our traffic review committee at the October 28th, 2019 meeting. It was voted unanimously in favor of keeping the existing yield control in place. Staff also recommends denial of the proposed ordinance.
Is there a motion to lay over? It's been moved by Vice President Anderson. Is there a second? Second by Councilor Prussia. Any discussion at this time? Councilor Prussia.
I understand that staff recommendation is for you. Upgrading the yield to the stop sign, the two existing yields, and what requirements are down the road. But that's not what we're considering now. What kind of considerations would we need for making that kind of change?
So the requirements have to do with traffic volume, crash history, and sight distance to convert it into a stop sign condition. And it,
Report, there was that one comment about some issues with
right, there's,
the entrance area of Walgreens, and some complication there.
yep, there's some site issues with the entrance exit to the Walgreens site there. And so staff recommendation is to follow up with Walgreens and see if we can improve the exit conditions out of their parking lot area.
And so that was the kind of things that would change from a traffic volume alone, consideration to some other considerations.
Sure.
It was just something that came up about 3 or 4 years ago. And it's nice to see this on today's, or the agenda that's here to see us.
Thank you.
Okay.
Councilor Jacobson.
It's my purview to support the traffic review decision to deny this, and so I would just respectfully request that perhaps we don't carry it over, and instead we would hold that down and then have a motion to suspend the rules, because I have no recommendation to the decision at this time. If my fellow councilors would like to do that.
Okay, for clarification, City Clerk Sabo, where should we go at this point? We have a motion and a second one to lay it over. So,
So if I may, there is a motion and a second to lay the item over. If that fails, then Councilor Jacobson's suggestion will be taken up. We can, have a motion to suspend the rules and vote the item up or down tonight. If
so
you
we'll,
wish.
thank you for that clarification. So, We have a first and a second on the floor. Is there any further discussion? If not, all in favor say aye. All opposed?
Nay.
Okay.
I motion to suspend the rules.
Okay, so is there a first to suspend the rules?
I second.
Second by, it was a first by Counselor Jacobson, and second by Counselor Corbett. Any discussion? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, that motion carries. So now we have a motion to,
I need a motion on the merits.
I motion to support, on the merits, to support traffic review denial. So I vote yay, I vote yes, will be that yes, we deny the request to establish multi-access. I second.
okay, we have a, and what we have to be clear.
We have a first and a second to deny the request for the ordinance. A positive vote means you're voting against the ordinance. A vote means you're voting in support of the ordinance.
Should we do a roll call? Or not necessary? We got a first and a second?
We have a first and a second to deny, you think about that, first and a second to deny the ordinance.
Okay. Any further discussion?
Just to clarify, so, yes, then means we're going to deny the traffic.
So, if not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Item 8C is consideration of ordinance number 3670 to amend certain sections of the ordinance 1302 relating to the establishment of electric vehicle parking stalls in the Ironworks South parking lot. This is first reading.
Assistant City Engineer Jason Dupuy will provide a summary of that.
The city installed a dual port electric vehicle charging station in the southeast corner of the Ironworks South parking lot. It was initially discussed as a project by the city's Sustainability Committee in 2017. The station has been installed and active since June of 2019. The dual port station requires 2 stalls to be designated for electrical vehicle charging stalls. The Traffic Review Committee reviewed the request at the October 28th, 2019 meeting and voted unanimously in favor of establishing the EV parking stalls in the Ironworks South parking lot. Staff also recommends approval of the proposed ordinance establishing 2 stalls for EV parking.
Thank you. Is there a motion to lay this over? Okay, we have a motion by Councilor Pressure. Is there a second? Second by Councilor Jacobson. Any discussion? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Who said nay?
I just,
Okay.
was teacher, yes.
Okay, that's teacher, okay, well, thank you, please, thank you, and welcome to the first round.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Councilwoman. Thank you, Councilwoman.
Essentially, I just wanted to echo the other people who just spoke. It's really great that we have you stepping up to take these jobs on, so please spread the congratulations around back at school. Thank you.
That's great.
And I hope someone on staff will be looking into the term for whenever you come and to make sure that is December 31st, 2019.
I'll verify with Pam.
There are no
tomorrow.
more meetings of municipal golf committee until March, so that it's good. Thank you again.
Great.
And I just want to mention, also echo what the other councils were saying, but also give a big thank you out to Don Kaminsky, who's assistant principal at the high school, because he certainly also made efforts and had help in that too. So just wanted to mention that, and then thank everybody for reading my Facebook post. So it's seems to be effective. So with that said, we have a motion and a second. Any other further discussion? If not, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes.
Next item is, counselor activities and upcoming events.
We'll start with Councilor Usher first.
I'm not gonna say anything, so I'll save it for next month.
All right, Councilor Jacobson.
No report.
Councilor Blake.
There are a couple of things coming up this Wednesday evening. One is an international poetry reading over at Beloit College, in the Moore Lounge, which is the second floor of Pearson's Hall. Beautiful lounge. It's Wednesday, November 20th at 7 p.m. And then also Wednesday evening from, I believe, 6 to 8, the Night Writers Writing Group meets again at Beloit Public Library, as they do most Wednesdays. And these events are open to the public.
Thank you. Councilor Corbett.
Well, I just wanted to say, congratulations to our police department for increasing your partnerships. We already passed this in the consent agenda, but for the public who might not realize this, these are significant, partnerships where we can have our police department be even better. With issues like child pornography and also, searching for kids. So, thank you for doing it.
Okay, Vice President Henderson.
Yes, I went to the BJSO concert last week. I know Mark probably wanted to say it, but he didn't, so took a week to come next month. It was a great concert. We support the BJSO. It's great to have them in our community. Upcoming, my favorite event all year is the Women Holiday Parade. Black Friday kicks off the holiday season. Please go to that. And it just seems like everybody else does, so might as well join them. So that's all I got.
Thank you, Vice President Anderson. And I just wanted to mention a few activities that I've been to and have participated in. The NBC 15-second harvest commercial, people have been stopping me and telling me that they've seen it, so I'm happy, I was happy to be a part of that. And then also attended a planning review committee along with Vice President Anderson. And then I had breakfast with the Big Cheese. I gave a presentation to the Rising Professionals Group along with Kevin Hendricks, Christina Dyer, and Tom Samuel. And then I also did I hated that I didn't get an opportunity to go to the Racial Justice Conference, but I was at the Wisconsin State Public Defender Conference in Milwaukee for 3 days. And I also went to the United Way Cabinet meeting, the Rock County Peer meeting, and I had an opportunity to attend the Veterans Day ceremony at Grinnell Hall Senior Center. So special heartfelt thanks to Vets Roll and to all the veterans for their duty, service, and sacrifice, and to all the staff at Grinnell Hall, because they really took a lot of work to put that on. So great job for that. And I also, last but not least, joined in the Red Kettle campaign for Salvation Army. So you'll see people out ringing the bell. So I just, it really warmed my heart because to see the people stopping in and giving money, and it just, we have the most giving and caring community in the world. Also, I would like to thank those who are volunteering to serve on our committees, because it's not easy and it's not like you're making money to serve on it, but you are certainly making a difference. And again, I would like to thank the assistant principal of the high school, John Kaminsky, for spreading the message to our youth about these vacancies. I would also like to encourage members of the public to please consider joining one of our committees. If you're interested, you can call Pam Lake going to miss it, and you don't want to miss us in the parade. And special thanks to our city staff for their dedication and hard work. Please know that you all are truly, truly appreciated. So thank you. With that said, next we'll go on to item 11.
We have the city manager's presentation, and she does have some comments tonight.
Thank you. I don't always share comments during the city council meetings, but particularly in light of some of the public comments shared tonight from our local youth, I thought it was incredibly important to take a moment, and I am quite comfortable speaking on behalf of the council as their staff member, certainly myself in my role as city manager, of leading this organization, employer, and in our community as a whole. That I want the message to be clear to our LGBTQ plus community that our core value of being an inclusive community, inclusive of diverse people and ideas, is truly very important to us, and that includes everyone in the LGBTQ plus community. Our definition specifically addresses gender identity and sexual orientation, and I think it's very important that not just the people who attended tonight, but particularly our youth, know that that core value includes them. And there was no item actually on the agenda tonight for the council to consider, so that there's nothing currently being decided. But if there was any question about whether or not that particular community is supported here in Beloit, I wanted to address that and take an opportunity to publicly say that inclusivity is our core value, and every individual who's present tonight and those they represent are a valued part of our community at large. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Item 12A is consideration of resolution 2019-171, approving the second amendment to a development agreement between the city of Beloit and 200 West Grand Avenue LLC and East Grand Development LLC.
Now, our Economic Development Director, Andy Yaki, will summarize this agreement.
Good evening. The City of Beloit entered into a development agreement on May 19th, 2015 with two development companies that are owned and controlled by Hendricks Commercial Properties relating to their plans to redevelop the properties at 8100 East Grand Avenue, the former Cary office building, and 200 West Grand, the former Cary manufacturing building. That amendment, or that agreement, was also amended in March 22nd of 2016. Since that time, HCP has determined that their proposed redevelopment plans for both sites are no longer feasible and need to be altered to meet contemporary needs and efficiencies. Therefore, HCP is requesting that the city consider a second amendment to the development agreement. This proposed amendment essentially recognizes that HCP no longer plans to reuse the existing former industrial structures at 200 West Grand, but will enter into a new development agreement reflecting the developer's plan to adjust the redevelopment site to construct 3 new mixed-use buildings that will include multi-housing residential, office, retail, and parking uses. That development agreement is next on your agenda for your consideration. Furthermore, the original development agreement provided for the city to convey the property at 8100 East Grand, or the former Cary office building, to the city of Beloit, and that conveyance actually did take place in May of 2016. The developer's original plan to reuse the existing structures at 8100 East Grand have been altered, and they are currently contemplating a partial or complete removal of the existing structures and developing new structures there for infill commercial uses. Details of this particular plan are currently in development, and when those plans are firmed up, we will come back to you with a third amendment to the development agreement at a future date and time. So this is on your agenda for consideration, and staff is recommending approval of the resolution, and I'd be happy to take any questions you might have.
May I have a motion at this time to approve the resolution? It's been moved by Councilor Jacobson. Second. Second by Councilor Corbett. Any discussion? If not, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
Item 12B is consideration of resolution 2019-172,
So Andrew outlined what the project will be, which is construction of a four-story, 74,346 square foot, 54-unit apartment building with first floor parking and rental offices, as well as a second and third buildings, along with a large surface parking lot. This project has been before you before. You approved the planned unit development master land use plan for this project on October 7th, and the zoning map amendment to PUD on October 21st. This project necessitates public improvements, and the attached development agreement outlines the applicant's responsibilities with respect to abandoning, relocating, extending, and or constructing public facilities and infrastructure necessary for this project. It provides for relocation of existing sanitary and storm sewer mains that conflict with proposed building locations. The work will be done at the developer's expense, and the plans will be reviewed and approved by the engineering division prior to construction. The proposed agreement also stipulates that the city will convey an approximately 14-foot strip of land to the east of the bike path where existing parking lot improvements encroach onto the city's land. In addition, a freestanding vacant parcel along the river that was previously used by Cary but is now surplus will be conveyed to the applicant to be included in that 14-foot strip of land in a future CSM. That is already also outlined in Exhibit D. It's the area in red. The applicant will still need to submit offers to purchase both the strip of land and the freestanding surplus property, and must provide a plan to improve the land to be acquired with landscaping. The city will retain ownership of at least 4 feet of land on the east side of the bike path to allow for maintenance. We had a meeting this morning, and engineering is actually currently investigating an alternative way to construct the storm sewer from what the current plans show. And if this does result in a cost savings to the city, the development agreement may have to be amended in the next couple of months. That's not likely, but I just wanted to give you guys a heads up in case, it came back before you, that we are kind of working through a process to try to use the city's resources in the best way. This is on your agenda for action tonight.
May I have a motion to approve the resolution? We have a motion by Councilor Corbett. Is there a second? Second by Councilor Question. Any discussion? If not, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
Policy, the city council may convene in closed session pursuant to 1985 sub 1G, specifically to consider the possible settlement of a claim filed by American Family Mutual Insurance Company, Silver Vita, W. Petty, and the council may reconvene in open session for possible action on matters discussed in the closed session.
Okay, may I have a motion to go into closed session? Moved by Councilor Question. Is there a second? Second by Vice President Anderson. Any discussion? If not, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Council now going to closed session.
Thank you so much. It was really great. I appreciate it.
say it like that.
Motion doesn't